We continue to get more news as far as that phone call from Donald Trump to Prime Minister Modi is concerned. We understand that Prime Minister Modi was given a call by Donald Trump, but what we're also learning is that this does come, remember, at a time where things are rather frosty between the two nations. Remember, US negotiators are in India. There was talk about the conflict in Ukraine and how both India and US want to bring peace to the region. And this happens as Donald Trump wished Prime Minister Modi his 75th birthday. It's also being learned at the moment that the idea is to somehow get both the parties, both nations do have that feeling of wanting to come back on the same path, be on the same track, go ahead, resolve the present issues. Multiple level talks have already taken place, but the tariff issue continues to be one that has involved both parties in intense negotiation. There is meetings happening in the national capital as well, as I understand. And in the backdrop of such hectic parleys happening comes Donald Trump's phone call to Prime Minister Modi. Maria Shakil is joining me for more. Maria, at a time where both nations are resolutely trying to come at a solution to the ongoing trade talks between the two nations, how important is this phone call, and was there, if your sources are telling you anything at the moment, was there any mention of the possible hurdles, or how is it that the two leaders want to bring an end to the impasse?
That is unlikely would have been taken up, but certainly a detailed press release is expected. But what we can tell our viewers at this point is it is the Prime Minister who's informing the country about this important conversation which he has had with Donald Trump. This was a phone call which came from the US President, and he greeted Prime Minister Modi on his 75th birthday, which is tomorrow. And one of the key areas of conversation was, of course, about both the sides expressing their commitment. Because if you look at the Prime Minister's tweet, he says, like you, I'm also fully committed to taking the India-US comprehensive and global partnership to new heights. And we support your initiatives towards a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict. So I think this conversation happening particularly on the day that 7-hour-long, meeting between the U.S. negotiator and the Indian negotiator ended with both the sides indicating that a positive outcome is likely to happen soon is a significant phone call. What happens next in the trade talks remains to be seen, although the indication from New Delhi so far has been that they are hopeful for a comprehensive trade deal between India and U.S. By the beginning or perhaps by the end of November.
Geeta also with us for more on this. Geeta, as far as taking that partnership to new heights is concerned, the bit that Maria also pointed out, what exactly is it that both parties need to ensure so that they can move in that particular direction? What are those key things that they really need to agree on so that this relationship can truly get to new heights?
Well, one very important aspect is to get the trade talks going and to conclude trade, because till the time you have a 50% tariff imposed by America on Indian goods, the Indian markets, Indian business is going to suffer very, very drastically. And so to move on and be in a better space, a conclusion of the bilateral trade agreement is absolutely essential. The other part is to remind America, to remind the Trump administration that in any work of his towards peace in any part of the world, for any forward movement, India is going to be essential and key. And if there are any other blocks that work as alternatives and India joins those blocks, then it is going to be a problem for America. The bullying, the high-handedness with which President Trump has handled India will not work, because should the 50% tariffs continue, should a bilateral trade agreement between the two countries not conclude in time, then India will be forced to to, not want to, but forced to find alternatives and alternative markets, and look at other countries for business, and also then engage countries that have been betting war for a very, very long time as competitors, but also as countries that need to come together, which includes China in the RIC bloc. Russia and India already are very, very good and strong partners. And should that happen, that again will be a real problem area for the United States of America and the Trump administration. So it is the ball in many ways than one is in Washington's court. They need to decide how to normalize ties with India yet again, and not blame India for things and decisions taken by the past administration sitting in DC. Remember, Russian oil import, India would not have increased it to the levels that it did should America not have requested India to do that, so that their European partners do not freeze in the cold during winters. That India did provide energy to quite a few of the European countries, may not be big countries like Germany, but many others. So there needs to be an understanding and be realistic about where they're headed. Also, remember, Trump does not want India to engage China or Russia, but he goes ahead and meets the Russian president in Alaska for a summit. He is engaging, or his administration is engaging China. And on Friday, Trump and Xi Jinping are going to hold a telephone conversation like he just did, wishing Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So the rules cannot be different for India if America is acting differently for its own interests. And that realization has to be there and has to come to Washington, D.C. for ties to normalize between the two countries. Unless and until that happens, for India, it's going to be a tightrope walk. But it is one where India has decided not to compromise, but to engage maturely. You will not see immature statements coming from New Delhi. They're very mature, measured statements coming from New Delhi when it comes to trade talks or reaction to Trump's statements. But there is going to be no forward movement if and should Trump continue to premise the entire relationship on oil imports from Russia.